What the actual... job?
Hello, I'm your host Maya Fraser, and welcome back to What the Actual Job, where I interview individuals about their careers so that high school students can get a better understanding of the jobs they would like to pursue in the future. This week, I had a great conversation with Daria Kark, a real estate agent from Engel Völkers. Without further ado, here's the interview.
My name is Daria Kark, and I am a realtor. I am an independent contractor, but I work for a brokerage called Engel Völkers, Ottawa. And I have been a realtor for 15 and a half years, and I was an accountant before that. But I have been a realtor for a very long time now. I've worked at different brokerages, but Engel Völkers is the one I work with now.
Accountant's pretty cool.
Yeah, it wasn't very exciting, which is why I changed careers, but something to talk about.
For sure. So what does a typical day look like for you as a real estate agent?
No 2 days are exactly the same. You kind of start off your day with a rough plan of what it's going to look like. So you might have calls with clients. You may be dealing with an offer. You may be doing showings for buyers. You might be dealing with a listing, and so meeting with potential sellers. But then there's always new things that pop in during the day, be it a new listing comes on, and so you've got to book a showing and head over there, or you get an offer on one of your listings, and so suddenly you're dealing with an offer. So no 2 days are exactly the same. And sometimes we're dealing with things that are outside of our control, and sometimes they're within our control. So you have to be prepared to be able to pivot quickly, because your day is never really what it's going to look like.
So what do you enjoy most about your career, and what makes you want to come to work every day?
So as a realtor, most of the time you're self-employed. So there's one thing about that you have to be self-motivated, because what you put into it is what you get out of it. And it's a career that you can work not very much and make an okay amount of money. You can put tons of effort into it, and then sometimes it just takes a while for things to get rolling and for your business to get going. But it's not necessarily a job. You're running a business, so there's a lot of investment that goes into it. So I would say what I love most about it is the interaction I get to have with people and the relationships I build with my clients over time. Still, I send them videos every so often, and hopefully you get to see them every so often. So even though I may not see them on a regular basis, you develop a relationship with people, and that goes on for many years and for people's different stages of life, which is great.
You were saying that it's very independent or self-motivated. Are there certain things you do to keep yourself motivated or accountable working independently?
Yeah, because I've been in the business for so long now, it just kind of flows. It just comes naturally. But certainly when you're starting out in the business, you have to self-motivate. And so I would say a lot of people might get a coach. So you can get an independent business coach. Some people might use their coworkers, so other realtors, as accountability buddies. In some brokerages, they have the management team, or they have like specific people in the brokerage that are maybe assigned to people if they're just starting out, to be kind of their mentors. I think one of the things that's important to remember is if someone is struggling, or if they're finding it hard to find that self-motivation, to reach out to people who can help them, be it a coach, be it a coworker, be it another new realtor, be it an experienced realtor, always to reach out and find an accountability partner or finding a mentor who can kind of help them through that process.
What would you say is the most challenging or hardest thing about being a real estate agent?
Well, probably dealing with our clients' emotions. Buying and selling a home can be very stressful. It can also be very exciting. So for some people, it's exciting. If you're a first-time buyer and you're buying your first house, it can be super fun. But in some situations, it can also be a very stressful situation. And it's a lot of work. It's getting a house ready for sale, or it's getting all your finances organized. And so there's often a lot of emotion that goes with that. And so I think our hardest part is being able to stay calm and level-headed in those situations, and being able to talk to our clients and communicate with them and communicate our advice as to what the best course of action is, so that they get the best outcome, but also don't go crazy at the same time.
Are there certain things you do in a scenario when your clients have lots of emotions?
Oh, that's a good question. From experience, it's a matter of stopping, taking a deep breath and saying, okay, let's talk about this and let's take a step back and what's causing these big emotions. How can we make the situation a bit easier? The ideal is that we're providing as much information as we can up front to alleviate as much of our clients' stress as we can. But inevitably, things happen. It's a matter of speaking calmly and making sure that we're explaining everything. And, you know, people might still be upset, but you're trying to make it as easy and as seamless as possible for the client.
What is the most valuable or significant thing you've learned from your career so far?
I would say being able to help people.
Yeah.
Our job is really to help guide people through these situations, and buying or selling a home is a very big life milestone. And so, you know, a lot of realtors will take this job as a sales job, and I don't. I take it as my job is to advise people. My job is to help people make the right decisions. So at the end of the day, you know, we're not pushy salespeople. My goal is to be somebody who's there as a resource and to help guide our clients through these big life decisions and making sure that it's smooth for them and that they're getting the very best outcome that they can at the end of it. So I think patience and the appreciation that our job is to help people as opposed to just selling. I make money from selling, but my goal is to help people get to that point.
That's a very nice perspective. And like, I can imagine it also probably takes some weight off of people's shoulders, knowing that you're just trying to help instead of, I'm just trying to sell something and make money.
I certainly try to shift that mindset away from people. It's a long-term relationship because at the end of the day, as part of the business is if you can have clients come back to you time and time again or refer people to you, then that's what makes your business grow. You can't be a number to a client. You have to be there to help them through this process.
That's very sweet. What education did you take or do to become a real estate agent?
So what I did to become a realtor 15 years ago is different than what people have to do today. So when I was going through the process, I had to take 3 courses. I think you had to have at least a high school education. And at the time, you had to take 3 courses, and there was an exam at the end of each course. It's a bit different today. So anybody who's becoming a real estate agent now has to take a program through Humber College. And it is, I believe, about a 1-year program. It's still a number of courses that are done mostly virtually. So you have to take some courses. There's exams at the end of every one. There's like simulations that you have to do in groups to pass the next step. I believe that there's probably an exam at the very end of it.
Is your career what you thought it'd be when you started? And are there any expectations that turned out different from reality?
Is my career what I expected it to be? No, I think it's probably a bit different. Because I came from a different career, I was modeling what I thought being a real estate agent would be after a friend of mine. So I was an accountant and I had a good friend who was a real estate agent. And so when I decided to get my real estate license, I went to work for him. I was watching what he was doing and it was different from what my day-to-day was looking like. And it was because he was at a different stage of his career and had grown a team. And so in my mind, I right away was going to be like him and I would be doing all these fun things and it would be super easy. Well, reality hit and I started working, and that it wasn't super easy at first. You had to work really hard. It's still today, 15 years later, not super easy. And, you know, depending on what the situation is in the world and in the market. And so is my career what I thought it was going to be? No, it's different. Is it great? Do I love it? Yes. When I worked in accounting, I worked a lot of hours and I didn't like it. And so I kept telling myself, well, if I have to work for another however long, 30 years or 40 years, I better find something that I really love to do. Because otherwise, working for another 40 years doing something I don't like, it's going to be very painful. I might have had a bit more of a rosy picture of like, oh my God, it's going to be so easy and I'm going to have so much fun. And my day-to-day, I'm going to be driving around and it's going to be awesome. And don't get me wrong, it is all of those things. I drive around and I have a lot of fun, but some days are more stressful than others. And so, I think maybe going into it, you often have a bit of a rosier picture.
How do you make a memorable impact?
Well, I would hope that it's in my approach to clients in the helping nature, and that I think people see the value in that we're always looking out for the best for our clients and making sure that they make the best decisions for their situation and making sure that they get the best outcome. I'm hopeful that people recognize that and then trust us for their own purposes going forward, but also trust us enough to refer us to clients, which is what makes our business grow.
In your opinion, what would make an excellent real estate agent?
Just had this conversation with somebody yesterday because I was talking about a real estate agent whose communication skills were very poor. I was telling somebody that who was not a realtor, and they said to me, well, isn't communication like the number one skill set you need to have as a realtor? I said, yeah, I think you're probably right, because you have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to communicate with your colleagues. You have to be able to communicate with your clients. Perhaps you have to be able to communicate with your staff, with the brokerage you work with. There's like always a communication component. And so your communication skills have to be really on point to be able to get your message across in a calm and concise manner to be able to help people make decisions or to get the right outcome for people. So I think communication skills are really top of mind. Time management skills are really important when you're self-employed because you don't have to be at the office at 8:30 or 8 or 9 a.m. and you don't leave home. You don't leave to go home at 4 or 5. Maybe you're working for 3 hours in the morning and then you have to do something else for 2 hours during the day, and then you're working for 2 hours in the evening. So time management skills are also really important when you're self-employed. And I would probably say that's probably for a lot of self-employed careers, that time management skills are really important.
Would there be any advice you have for anyone wanting to become a real estate agent?
If somebody really wants to become a real estate agent, I would say find a real estate agent that you might know or maybe a family member knows, and maybe spend a day with them. Follow them around for a day and see what their day looks like. Go out for a coffee or a tea with them and chat with them about what their days look like and what it means to be a real estate agent and what they like about it, what they don't like about it. So it's a matter of figuring out, okay, well, is this something that I would actually want to do? So I think shadowing somebody is a great idea.
That's perfect. And then we have a few questions from students. Does a real estate agent have a typical 9-to-5 workday?
It's not a typical 9 to 5. It is very different. Sometimes we're working weekends. So when I first started working, I basically worked 7 days a week. And I think as you get more mature in your career, you are able to set some boundaries so that you're not working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. But certainly at the beginning, when you're trying to get your business going, there is much more of a mental need maybe to respond to people all the time. It's definitely not 9 to 5, and often it's outside of those hours, because if your clients are working 9 to 5, then you're probably spending time with them when they're not at work. So more often than not, it might be on an evening or it might be on a Saturday or Sunday when your clients aren't working.
I never thought of that, but that makes total sense.
There's also lots of stuff that happens during the day when they're working. So you could also get into a bit of a vicious cycle where you're working all the time. Like you do have to kind of pull yourself back and say, okay, well, now I've been working for 12 hours today. This can wait until tomorrow. This doesn't have to be done today. And then you have to start prioritizing. Okay, well, what do I need to get done today? And what can wait until tomorrow so I don't work 17 hours today?
I think that advice right there of prioritizing and taking breaks is good advice for like everyone.
Anybody.
Yeah. If you started back again from square one, would you have given yourself those breaks and done the prioritizing more?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But that's hard when you really are just starting and you don't really know what you're doing and you're worried about, oh, well, how much money am I going to make? Because one thing to note is, as a real estate agent, 100% of your salary, if you're selling residential properties, comes from commissions. So you don't have a salary. You only make money when you sell a house. So it takes time to build that client base and the confidence in yourself that you know it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so once you build that confidence in yourself, your clients just start coming, and then they refer you to other clients, and that's how your business grows. But those first few years can be difficult.
Confidence is key.
Confidence is key.
So when did you know or decide that you were interested in real estate?
Well, that's a good question. I'll tell you a funny story. So when I was maybe 13 years old, we had moved to Ottawa about a year before, and my parents bought a house, and it was a really small house, and they were waiting for their house in Montreal to sell so that they could buy a bigger house in Ottawa. And finally, that house in Montreal sold. Now all real estate listings are on realtor.ca, and you look at everything online, just like everything else. But back then, real estate listings used to be printed in a book. When you walk into the grocery store, there was like a little holder, and you would grab the little magazine, and all the listings would be there. The real estate agent would have all the additional details. So if you had interest in a house, you would call your real estate agent, and you would get them to call the other real estate agent, and they would go and they would get you all the information. Anyway, I was 13 and I really wanted my parents to move, and I really wanted them to buy a bigger house. So I used to go to grocery shopping with my parents, and I would grab that book. And then I would go through the book, and I would take a highlighter, draw a little highlighter box around the houses that I thought my parents should buy. One day, I found one that I thought for sure my parents should buy. It was in the neighborhood next to the neighborhood my parents lived in. And I called the real estate agent, and I said, "Hi, I was wondering about this house on this street. Is it available?" And the real estate agent obviously knew he was talking to 13 or 14-year-old, and said, "Are your parents home?" And I said, "Yeah, just 1 minute." And I handed the phone to my mom, who later got very upset with me, but my parents ended up buying that house. So all that to say, I always had an interest in real estate. And when I was in university, I decided I was going to take business, and then I got my accounting degree, and I worked as an accountant. But I always had in the back of my mind that I really had an interest in real estate. I had bought my first house fairly young, and I always really liked the idea of it. And I was working a lot of hours, and I thought, well, I'll start doing my real estate license on the side. But my job was so busy, the accounting job I was doing, that I just didn't have time. My interest started when I was 13, and then I tried to get into it like a couple of years after I graduated from university, and then the timing wasn't quite right. And so I ended up working in accounting for about 9 years. And then I got my real estate license, and then I got into it full time.
That's a great story. I love how you called them personally.
Yeah, my mom was not in front. She gave me like "I'm going to kill you later" look. My parents still live in that house, so it was meant to be.
It was. The last question is, what is the most expensive house you've sold?
Oh, the most expensive house I have sold was $4 million.
Holy cow. Did it have a pool?
Yep, had a pool and a lot of bathrooms. So many bathrooms. Yeah. More bathrooms than there were humans living in the house.
Oh my gosh. Finally, do you have any last comments or anything you'd like to say?
I think real estate is a really wonderful career, and it really is what you put into it. So the more effort you put into it, the more rewarding it is, and the more financially beneficial it is. So it is a great career, but you do very much have to be able to communicate and relate to people and be able to have that mentality that you're helping people to be most successful.
I'm your host, Maya, and this is What the Actual Job. Thank you again to Daria for having this amazing interview with me about a career as a real estate agent. If you want to listen to this episode or others like it, you can find it here on CKCU 93.1 FM or wherever you listen to podcasts.